Hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. In the previous videos, I used the donut chart in Excel to make a gauge chart in order to visualize the Net Promoter Score, NPS, a matrix widely used to measure customer loyalty. Now, in that simplified versions of the gauge charts, we were only able to display the positive numbers from 0 to 100. The problem is, the Net Promoter Score can vary from -100 to +100, and it's not easy to display the negative number with the donut chart in Excel. We will need to use more advanced technique. So in this video, let's again take a closer look at the Net Promoter Score, its definitions, what does it mean to the business, and then I'll show you step by step how you can calculate the Net Promoter Score. And finally, we will create a proper Net Promoter Score charts, which will now show both negative and positive score. Hi, my name is Lynn. I'm a data analyst and automation expert with experience in banking and logistic industry. I'm passionate about sharing office productivity tips and tricks that help you to level up your skill, clock out early, and enjoy your life. Now, before we start, there is a timeline in the description box below that will help you to navigate through all the sections of the videos. Please feel free to pause, rewind the videos when needed. If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more insightful tutorials. Ready to level up your data analytic game? Let's dive into it. The Net Promoter Score, in short NPS, was created by management consultant Fred Brighthelp of Bain & Company in 2003. The idea is to measuring how happy customers are with your company. In other words, how likely they are to recommend your company, your brand, or your product to a friend, colleagues, or relatives. Customer can do this by giving the company a score from 0 to 10. 0 meaning they are not likely to recommend the company at all, and 10 meaning they are strongly recommending your company. So how do we measure the Net Promoter Score? From the collected data, first we need to categorize the collected score into 3 groups. Promoters are those who give 9 and 10 points, passive give 7 and 8 points, and detractor who give 0 to 6 points. Then we'll calculate the percentage of each group. The Net Promoter Score is derived by subtracting the percentage of the detractor from the percentage of the promoters. The logic behind this formula is the promoter, as the word said itself, they are likely to promote your business. On the other hand, detractor won't promote your business. And passive, however, can go both ways. So the full formula is written as below, in which the percentage of passive eliminate each other. And please note that the Net Promoter Score is not expressed as percentages, but as an absolute number lying between -100 and +100. The higher score showing that your customer are more satisfied, loyal, and more likely to promote your company. So this is the dataset that we will be working with today. It is the customer survey for Excel Property. It contains 5 columns, 1,948 rows, and there is no missing value and no error in this dataset. Now let's have a closer look at what information we have here. We have the ID column, which is the unique identifier of each row. Then we have a descriptive information about the customer like gender, channel, and age. And finally, we have the Net Promoter Score, where customers were asked to give a score from 0 to 10 on how likely they are to recommend Excel Property to friends and family. You can refer to these videos here to see how this data is collected. Simply use Microsoft Forms. Now, we're going to help Excel Property uncover the insight behind this survey. First up, we need to categorize the collected score into 3 groups: promoter, passive, and detractor. We can do this, simply use the if function. I'm going to type here the new column headers as NPS because our data is already in a table format. So when I type in a cell next to the edge of the table, the range of the table is automatically expanded to a new column. Let's write our if formula here in the first row. The if function has 3 parameters. The first one is the logical test. What are we going to test? We want to see if the Net Promoter Score is less or equal than 6. If this is true, we want to return detractor. Now, if this is false, instead of returning a result, we want to continue with another test. So again, use another if functions. This technique is called nested if function, meaning you use multiple if within each other. Now, this time, what do we want to test? We want to test if the Net Promoter Score is less or equal to 8. If this is true, we want to return passive. If this is false, there is no more other category, so we can return the promoter and end the functions here. So close brackets 2 times and now hit enter. And we have our NPS classification created. And as you can see, the advantage of using table is that the formula is automatically being reflected to the entire columns. I don't have to manually copy the formula down like when I have to write the formula in a cell. And look at the syntax of the formula. It's so much easier to read. Writing the formula this way is really helping you to quickly know what has been done when you come back months later on the project. Alright, with the classifications done, we have all the required informations and ready to calculate the Net Promoter Score. So first, let's insert a pivot table. Click on any cells in your data table, go to Insert, Pivot Table, from Table or Range. Now select where you want to put your pivot table. To speed up the process, I've already prepared the step-by-step instructions, and we will follow these steps throughout the videos. First, we need to know how many responses we have per classifications. So I'll drag the column header NPS into the row area to see the classification, and I also drag the same column into the value area. As you can see, pivot tables automatically summarize the data for me. And because the NPS column is flagged as text, so by default, the measure created is the count. This is exactly what we want. Now for the percentage, I'll again drag the NPS into the value area to create the second measure. This time, I'm going to display this measure as the percentage of the grand total. So simply right-click on the measure, value field setting, leave the summarized value as count. Now go to show value as and choose percentage of grand total. You can also change the name of the measure here to percentage. Now hit OK. And we have the percentage of promoter and detractor as we wanted. Let's calculate our Net Promoter Score simply by take the percentage of the promoters minus the percentage of the detractor. And remember, we only want to take into account the absolute number, so we'll multiply the result with 100. Now format it into number. Let's take a closer look at the syntax of this formula. Notice that when you select the measure within the pivot table, a Getpivotdata formula is automatically generated. If you are not familiar with Getpivotdata formula, the syntax looks a bit like this. So the data field is what you are after, the data you want to retrieve. Pivot table is your pivot table where all the data is stored. Fields and items are clues you give to Excel to pinpoint the exact location of the data you're looking for. Getpivotdata is useful in our case because it allows us to retrieve the exact value from the pivot table, even if the dimension of the pivot table has changed or the order of the certain fields has changed. Now we're going to add some slicers to make our calculation more dynamic. This way we can deep dive further into the data. So right-click on the pivot table, go to Insert, Insert Slicers. Now select all the criteria you want to analyze further. And we have 3 slicers inserted. You can select the slicer button to drill down to the focus group that you want. We have an error here. Why is that? Because there is no promoter for the selected criteria. Hence, the GetPivotData formula for promoter return an error. What you need to do now is to wrap this formula within the Iferror function to eliminate the error. So we'll insert the Iferror functions here. The value will be the result of GetPivotData formula. So if this formula results in an error, what we want to return instead is 0. I'll do the same for the detractor. And the error is gone. Let's test this out. Everything looks good. Now that we have our Net Promoter Score calculated, it's time to communicate the results in the way that get our message across more effectively. And the best way is to visualize this number with a gauge chart. We have 2 problems though. First, the gauge chart doesn't exist in Excel. The closest chart that we can get is the donut chart. So we will need to do some manipulation to turn the donut chart into the gauge chart. The second issue is that the chart can only display positive value as from 0. So if you want to take into account the negative point, we'll need to do some more advanced techniques to solve the issue. We will do this in 2 steps. First, we will create the progress bar with the range from -100 to +100. And then we will create the pointer to indicate the Net Promoter Score. For the progress bar, we'll start creating a donut chart, but we only use half of the donut chart. And because the circles is 360 degrees, so I will put a placeholder value here as 180 and 180. Let's insert our donut chart. So select the underlying data, go to Insert, Insert a donut chart. Now quickly format the chart. Now in this half of the circle, I want to have the progress bar ranging from -100 to 0 and 0 to 100 with the incremental of 20%. So we would need to split this piece into 10 equal parts. So we will got 180 divided by 10, that is 18 degrees. Now I will adapt the chart so that the underlying data reflects the changes. Notice that the first slide of the donut will always start here in this position. This is not exactly what we want, so we need to move this unused slide into the middle. So hold Ctrl on your keyboard, drag it down to the 5th position, and release the mouse. Much better. Now we have the progress bar look just as we wanted. I'm going to adjust the color. Positive is with the green tone and negative is with the orange tone. Now adjust the thickness of the donut to 50%. Now let's create our pointer to display the Net Promoter Score on a scale from -100 to 0 and from 0 to +100. To do that, we need to add the second donut on top of the existing one. This time, we'll divide this donut into 4 slices: the starting angle, the pointer angle, the remaining angle, and the ending angle. Let's for now assume that we have 4 equal slices, value at 10 each. Now, how do we add the second donut on top of the existing one? There are many ways to do so, but the fastest way is to select the first donuts on your keyboard, click Ctrl+C to copy, and immediately click Ctrl+V to paste. As you can see, there are 2 donuts stacked on top of each other. Now we just need to update the underlying data for the outside donuts. We can do this by selecting the outside donut and adjusting the underlying data range. And we have our second donut split into 4 slices as expected. Now I'm going to temporarily change the color for each of these donut slices just for you to visually see what happens underneath the formula while I'm explaining the purpose of each of the donut slices. Net Promoter Score can fall into 3 scenarios. It can be 0, positive, or negative. Each scenario will be plotted differently in the charts. Let's explore them one by one. So the first scenario is when NPS is equal to 0. Let's start to adjust the thickness for each of the donut slices. The starting angle will be 0 degree. The pointer angle, I want to have the thickness of 4 degrees. The ending angle will also be 0 degrees. Now, the idea is to have the value of all these 4 slices always sum up to 360 degrees. That's why the remaining angle will be 360 minus all other angles. As you can see, right now the pointer is located between 0 and 4 degrees. Ideally, it should be in the middle of point 0, meaning it should be between minus 2 degrees and plus 2 degrees. But that is not possible because the first slice of the donut always starts from 0, and you cannot deviate it with a negative degree from point 0. So the trick is to reduce the size of the pointer to half and make the last slice of the donut, the ending angle, thicker to 2 degrees. Now, if I update the color of the ending angle to red, we'll have the full pointer right in the middle of point 0. Let's copy the formula for these scenarios here. Ctrl+C to copy, right-click and paste formula. Moving on to the second scenario, where NPS is greater than 0. If I increase the starting angle by 20 degrees, my pointer is pushed away from point 0, but it's only half thick. So let's increase the thickness again to 4 degrees. We don't need the ending slice anymore, so let's put it to 0. Now we have the right setup. So let's try to move the starting angle again. As you can see, when I change the starting angle, the pointer moves accordingly. So the idea now is to somehow find a way to convert the Net Promoter Score into degrees. Then we'll be able to plot the NPS to the charts. Let's make a testing area here. Now if you look here, from 0 to plus 100, this part is a 90-degree angle. So let's say NPS is 1 point. If 90 degrees is 100%, what is NPS in degrees? We have 90 divided by 100 multiplied with the NPS, that is 0.9 degrees. I'm going to quickly replace this into the starting angle so you can see how this plays out in the chart. If I increase NPS to 2 points, it's 1.8 degree. Increases into 20 points, it's 18 degree. And 40 points is 36 degrees. That's look pretty good. But notice that the pointer is not right in the middle. So we would need to adjust the starting angle a little bit. The pointer is 4 degrees, so we will deduct half of that, which is 2 degrees from the starting angle. Alright, so we have the conversion formula. NPS multiplied by 90 divided by 100 and minus 2. Again, copy and paste the formulas here. Now I'm going to apply the NPS conversion formula to the starting angle here. So the actual NPS in cell E5 multiplied with the conversion rates adjusted with -2 degrees. Let's quickly check. The total is 360 degrees, so that's look good. The last scenario is where NPS is less than 0. Let's test this with the negative NPS. It doesn't work. Why is that? There are two things. All the donut slices are totaling to 100%, and the donut chart only take the absolute value of the underlying data. So let's say the NPS is -80. Convert this into degrees, that is -74 degrees. So the starting angle is -74 degrees, making the remaining angle 430 degrees, because the sums of these four slices always be 360. But, as you know, donut charts take the absolute value of the underlying data. So actually, the sum of all the slices is now 508 and not 360. And that's not what we want. We want the total to always be 360. So the trick is to increase the value of the starting angle by adding 360 to the original conversion formula. As you can see, the pointer is now being pushed toward the negative side, where we want it to be. And let's test this out. This looks good. So we have the new conversion formula. Net Promoter Score multiplied by 90 divided by 100 minus 2 plus 360. Again, copy and paste with formulas here. Now apply the negative NPS conversion formula to the starting angle. And we have covered all the Net Promoter Score scenario. Now let's take a closer look on how we're going to dynamically plot all of these scenarios in the charts based on the user selection. We're going to use, again, the nested if function. So if the NPS in cell E5 is equal to 0, if this is true, then return the 0 scenario. If this is false, we want to continue with another if. Now what we want to test is if NPS is greater than 0. If this is true, then return the positive scenario. Otherwise, return the negative scenario. Now close the brackets 2 times and hit enter. Now you drag the formula down to other cells. That looks good. We don't need the testing site anymore, so let's grade this out. Now I'm going to make the starting angle and the remaining angle disappear. Now let's change the pointer donut chart to a pie chart to create the speedometer effect. Right-click on the chart, change series charts type, change the series 1 into pie chart. Alright, that's look much better. Let's test this out. And the chart is created as expected. Alright, now I'm going to quickly format this NPS chart and add some more critical information to better communicate the message. Alright, that's look very good. We don't want to show our back-end calculation, right? So let's hide it. But now my chart is disappear. Why is that? It's because when you hide these rows, your underlying data, which is still linked to your chart, is also hidden. And by default, Excel does not allow displaying hidden rows of the underlying data in a chart. So what you need to do is to change the setting. So select the chart, right-click, select data, select hidden and empty cells. Tick the check Show Data and Hidden Rows and Columns. Now let's hide the calculation area again. And our chart still working as expected. Net Promoter Score is a valuable tool for quantifying customer feedback. Company can benchmark this score against competitors or the whole industry. The Net Promoter Score allows companies to follow up on changes over time to evaluate their performance. Remember, presenting your findings in a visually appealing way is a lot more powerful than just giving a plain number. In this tutorial, we use the gauge chart to effectively display the Net Promoter Score. As you can see, with Excel, you can create complex visuals to effectively get your message across. Not only charts, Excel also allows you to create interactive dashboards. If you want to see more in-depth visualization tutorials, you can check out the videos here. In these tutorials, I explain how you can combine individual graphs and charts into a dashboard that tell a compelling story, making data speak to your audience. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. You don't want to miss out on any of my latest content. Thank you for watching. See you next time.